Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of With All Due Respect. I'm your host, Ryan Shead, and boy, do we have a show for you today. Unfortunately, my better half on this show, Marcus, could not be with us today. He is taking his turn at getting surgeries. We seem to go back and forth. He gets one, I get one. That just seems to be, we're getting old. You know, when you hit that like 40 plus mark, you start comparing surgeries and metal plates and stuff. So he'll be back next week, I believe. And then, there's just so much to talk about today. I don't want to waste any time. Luckily, here in Arizona, we have Rep. Grijalda that has been waiting to be sworn in Washington, D.C. for quite a few weeks now. And she is supposed to be getting sworn in, I believe, an hour from now, East Coast time. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. So if you've been waiting for that, today is a good day. It's happy to finally see her hard work pay off, and our constituents here in Tucson being represented as they should have been the whole time. Even though I know she's been representing them and working for them, she's just been playing the game. So, congratulations to her and her whole team. Happy to finally see them get sworn in and have that happen. And but let's talk about the reason that they didn't want to swear her in this whole time. I believe we all can agree that the Epstein files seems to be the big tipping point here. And we've watched some of the biggest right-wing social media accounts and political pundits for months, even years, talk about, the Democrats are all over it, Bill Clinton this, and Donald Trump's never done it. He kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He's never been on the plane. He's never been on the island. Like, all their excuses are now being thrown out. And for those of you who may have been watching me for the last few years, you're going to remember a show where I literally debunked Enrique Tarrio and them, and I said, look, you guys act like him kicking him out of Mar-a-Lago is a big deal. He literally lives down the street from him. Like, Donald Trump wouldn't even have to take off his house shoes and his robe to just mingle on over to the back door of Jeffrey Epstein. You guys act like that's not a possibility. Well, guess what, folks? We've got an email that says just that yes, Donald Trump did go over to Jeffrey Epstein's house, his personal residence, and yes, he did spend a few hours alone with one of the known victims from the Epstein debacle. So I'm just wondering, how are we going to pivot from here? Like, I'm sure we're going to hear the emails aren't real, it's being fabricated. I'm sure the gamut of excuses is well on its way. But the question is, will people believe it? I mean, the timing really is perfect. It's confirming that, yes, Donald Trump did know the girls. Yes, he did know what was going on. And remember, the woman who just released her book, God, I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I'm so sorry. But she's come out and said that she was picked out at Mar-a-Lago. Like, she literally was working at Trump's place. And he was mad because Epstein had poached her. So are you mad that he poached her because she was a good employee? Or are you mad that he poached her because of... I'll leave that up to your guys' interpretation. But Virginia Guffrey Roberts, right? Thank you. It just popped into my head. So, unfortunately, she lost her life to suicide, and unfortunately, I started reading the book, and you can kind of understand the levity of it all. And so, yeah, to see this finally happening, to see the light finally being shown on what's we all have really like those of us on the left, and I think that are capable of an IQ above like 90, we all have known that Trump is somewhere involved. It's just how involved? How much did he know? Who was protecting him? Because you got to remember, if you've got an investment, you're going to do everything to protect that investment. If you are in the stock market and there's any way that you can stop your stocks from going lower than they were last year, you're going to invest in that. See? Now, think about politicians and business people the same way. A lot of people are invested in Donald Trump, the brand, which in turn means they're invested in the person. It's one of the reasons that Elon Musk is where he is. And if you're invested in said person, then you have a vested interest in protecting them from any potential fallout from personal issues. Okay? Just like any board would do. So when you have a bunch of really influential people that are literally the richest in our country that have a vested interest in protecting somebody that has the potential to be president, and that you know you have all this information to hold over his head, so he's going to do exactly what you tell him to do, like deregulate markets, defund whatever competition, so on and so forth. And so here we are. I don't think he can be protected anymore. I think enough people have seen the light. I think also the people that are protecting him, as invested in him as they may be, I think that they are starting to see that he is more of a liability than anything else at this point. And I also want to point out, it's really interesting to me that we on this show and on social media will very likely be censored today for calling Donald Trump exactly what he is. So let me just get it out of the way now. Donald Trump is a convicted felon. He is a prolific business fraud. He's an adjudicated rapist, and he is an accused pedophile that we now have more information connecting him to known victims. So it's interesting that you can't call the president of the United States exactly what he is without being censored on social media. Maybe if we can't call the man what he is, he shouldn't be running our country. And I see we have a comment. There's no possible way they could have erased and replaced Trump's name in the files, right? He is a felon and Bondi is completely compromised. There's been videos. I know there was like one whistleblower video out there that said that, he's in it. They're just cleansing it. And here's my other thing that I want to point out. Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a much cushier situation after meeting with Trump's lawyers and seeing everything that's coming out today, knowing what's probably coming out in the coming weeks. It makes me wonder, what did she agree to? What did she agree to either confirm or not confirm? Because we on this show, Marcus and I, we're not trying to start a cult. We like to inform people and also encourage you to go just, research it yourself a little bit. Ghislaine Maxwell is currently being given time with emotional support puppies. Let me say that for y'all one more time. Ghislaine Maxwell, who has been convicted in New York federal court of 5 counts of sex trafficking and sentenced to 20 years in prison because of it, is getting time with emotional support puppies. Look, I think to say that there is a cover up, it's clear. I also refer back to Elon Musk when they had their little cat fight online. Elon Musk was like, "Surprise! He's in the files." It's been confirmed by people that I know have seen it. And DC Drano, TikTok, libs of TikTok, I always refer back to that photo where they're all holding the folders up that say Epstein files phase 1 or whatever it was. But yet none of them have ever released any of the information, and they claim to be all about saving the children and Christians and God this and all that. It's really confusing to me. Their actions never really seem to line up with their claims. So how long do we think before Ghislaine is pardoned? Great question. It is being reported that she is literally about to apply to have her sentence, commutated? So she's applying for a commutation. So that would get rid of everything. It would get rid of, I believe, the whole, it would make it just go away. Because if she's pardoned, it still stays there. It just shows that she was, pardoned from basically, I believe, the repercussions, I think, is the difference. So if she gets this, it lets her walk away and just act like it never happened. So I want to just get a little more detail on this before I move on. So again, what most of us are focused on today is a couple of these emails in particular, which actually happened in 2011. It was between Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein himself. So, and for reference, Epstein got that sweetheart deal down there in Florida around 2008. So these emails were going on three years or so after he had gone to prison for a few months for that sweetheart deal. So this context kind of matters, right? Because claiming that Trump had kicked him out, in early 2000s and had nothing to do with them and blah, blah, blah. Well, we've got email correspondence that says differently. And so my question is, are people going to start flipping? So sex offender Jeffrey Epstein referred to Donald Trump as the dog that hasn't barked and told his former companion, Ghislaine Maxwell, that an alleged victim had spent hours at my house with Trump, according to email correspondence released Wednesday by Democrats on the House Committee of Oversight and Government Reform. Here is direct quotes. "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump," Epstein wrote in a typo-riddled message to Maxwell in April of 2011. Victim, which has been blanked out, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Maxwell replied, "I have been thinking about that." So there it is, black and white. We have some confirmation, and what I've seen so many people saying, and it's a very valid point / question, is what if you had this much evidence, this much speculation even, surrounding either Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, or Joe Biden? See, because I remind you, they couldn't get Joe Biden on anything, so they just went after his son, a known drug addict trying to get his crap together. It's like, I'm sorry, I missed where he was running for office. But no, we have direct links to the current president of the United States. And again, this isn't his first go around the merry-go-round, right? He's got the E. Jean Carroll case where he's actually asking the Supreme Court as we speak to overturn it. Are you guys serious? If you are guilty, you fight it tooth and nail. And with this, we called it. That they're going to wait, and he's going to wait till he's in the position that he can basically leverage the Supreme Court into doing something that he wants. Now, I am not saying that for sure the Supreme Court's going to give him what he wants, but I would say it's probably 60-40 in his favor. I definitely don't have a whole lot of confidence, but who knows? The Supreme Court has definitely surprised us a few times in recent memory. So who knows? But we all know he did it. Come on, man. Look, we've got him on tape saying the Hollywood whatever video. And he literally says that women let him just kiss him and grab him by the you-know-what. And they let him do it because he's famous. Well, E. Jean Carroll sounds like she didn't just let you do it. And I'm guessing that she's not the only woman that didn't just let you do it because you were famous. I'm guessing that there are a lot of women out there that feel like you have violated them. And the reason is because the president of the United States is a sexual predator. I don't care how you flip it. I don't care how you spin it. And I don't care your opinion on it. The facts are that the president of the United States is a convicted felon and a very well-known sexual abuser and adjudicated rapist. So again, censor me all you want, but it's a fact. And you want to know why it's a fact? Because I have never once in the 4+ years that I've been posting that same phrase online every day, and you guys that follow me know I have posted every day, 365 days for quite a while, that Donald Trump is a convicted felon and adjudicated rapist. And I never get fact checked, but I do get censored. So the information isn't wrong. The name isn't incorrect. I'm using the right description, but you're censoring it because people don't like the word. Well, he's the president. Maybe we should be more worried about that than my use of the word. But hey, I know I'm taking a left turn. This is what happens when you put me on the show by myself. I start having a conversation with myself. So, but no, I appreciate the comments because that actually makes me feel like I'm not just talking into the void. Look, man, I just need people to understand where we are right now. We're coming out of a shutdown, which I'm going to talk about in a second. We have a Speaker of the House who held off on swearing in a duly elected official. And in my personal opinion, the reason is because they were looking for somebody or a group of people to flip and agree not to vote to release the files. And Nancy Mace, I believe, was going to be one of them. Still might be. We need to get people to understand that we do not need to wait 3 years to get rid of this man. Let me say that again. We do not need to wait 3 years to get rid of this man. And I'm not even talking about the midterms where we can neutralize the administration, because that's different. Getting him out of the White House versus neutralizing the administration as a protection, as our only hope, those are two different things. So when I say remove him, that's going to require the people in Congress to grow a pair, to find some courage, to dig in their ovaries, whatever you want to call it, women, men, I don't care. Anybody, any elected official that is currently in Congress, in the House, in the Senate, you need to start getting serious. You need to start getting serious with yourself. You need to start getting serious with your constituents. Because let me tell you what happened. Last Tuesday, Democrats showed up and voted and showed Congress that they supported what was happening. Yes, we are all suffering. We understand that people aren't getting paid and that causes its own anxiety and issues and whatever. But what we all understood was that, look left or right, we were all in the same boat and we understood why. And this is one of those times. It's a woodshed moment. The people of Congress can impeach this man. The House can impeach him, the Senate can convict him, and they can remove him and make sure he could never run for anything ever again. But we need him to do it. We need them to say, you know what? It's time. We're done with this. We need to get rid of this guy. We need to get rid of this administration. So the Senate and the House are going to have their kumbaya moment and finally do it. Now, is that magically going to make all the issues go away? Is it going to get rid of, the entire, Project 2025 agenda that is clearly playing out ahead in front of us? No, it's not going to magically make it go away, but it is going to make its messiah vanish. And that's what I think we need. So whether it's impeaching, whether it's the 25th Amendment, I don't care what it is, but we can do it. We can get serious. And I'm not saying don't focus on the midterms. Yeah, we need to focus on the midterms. We need to give Congress the Democrat control that they need. They need the supermajority. So yeah, we absolutely need to focus on that. But we also need to remember that we don't need to just grit and bear it for the next 3 years too. We don't just have to grab on to the seat of our pants and hope for the best. We can do something. We just need to demand it. And I thought on Tuesday that voters showed up and let them know that that was what we expected. And for some reason, Senate Democrats decided to cave on the shutdown. Now, I know a few of the people in my circle, in my life, disagree with this, but I see that a lot of people online agree with me pretty much exactly, but to the fairest extent. I'm going to go back to when Biden dropped out of the race. I was in Disneyland, and I remember I was taking time off, and I said, don't call me, don't text me unless, something crazy happens, like Biden drops out of the race. Sure enough, like our second to last day there, phone starts going off like crazy. It's everybody texting me, Biden just dropped out. What the hell? My first knee-jerk reaction was, this is bad, and it's going to cost us the election. And I posted online, and I got hammered by my fellow Democrats saying that I was being divisive, I was wrong, I was this. Okay, so I backed off, and I fell in line and played the good soldier, did streams, fundraising for Kamala, all sorts of stuff. And then it went down exactly like I said it was going to. And it's like, here we are again. I just don't understand how the party can fold knowing what we know. John Fetterman has been pretty much saying Republican talking points and has completely left the Democratic Party. When he's talking about voting on the shutdown, he doesn't even refer to himself as a Democrat anymore. He's talking to Democrats like Trump and Republicans do. Well, the Democrats this and the Democrats that. Bro, you're a Democrat. In case you forgot. So he seems to have sold himself as a progressive, but he has very quickly become a conservative mouthpiece. So much so that I see him more on right-wing pages, being praised on right-wing pages than I do anywhere else. So he is one of 8 senators that decided the 40 days of government shutdown that everybody had endured and are still enduring the effects of, by the way, it needed to end. Now, I am a hardcore liberal, and the optics that it showed me was the Democrats just caved and gave away all the capital that they had and got nothing but a promise in return. And the promise was, we'll vote on the Affordable Care Act subsidies sometime in December. And of course, those of us, again, with, an IQ above room temperature, knew that there's no good faith conversations or deals to be had with Mike Johnson, Trump, or any of them. And sure enough, after the Senate finally does this, they asked Mike Johnson about the vote, and he's like, oh, wait. I didn't say for sure. And before we do that, we're gonna have to get serious about these abortion protections. Oh, here we go. So now Democrats in the House are gonna have to fight the abortion agenda again, which in my opinion is just to slow it all down. But the point is, we're having to fight it again. And I just don't understand. I don't understand how people can still support this guy. I don't understand why we aren't using the tools that we have to fix these problems. I need somebody to explain it to me in a way that I understand, because watching John Fetterman, infuriates me. It's like I see Democrats and people that want to run for office that actually give a shit. They actually care about the constituents, and more importantly, they're loyal. That's what I'm seeing missing from the Democratic Party. Fucking loyalty. I'm not even a Democrat. I left the party 2 years ago. I know a bunch of you don't even know that. And I'm still more loyal to the party than you are. I'm still more loyal to Democrats running than you are. I still do more fundraising for Democrats than the majority of you. And I'm not even one of them. But the reason is because I know that between the two parties, it's a no-brainer. It's no question. But for some reason, we can't even get the elected officials in the Democratic Party to figure that out. You got people like John Fetterman just muddying the waters. That ain't helping. I just don't get it. And then on top of it, now you've got the government literally trying to starve people so that they can get their agenda done, so that they can get their way. Somebody explain that to me. And by the way, they're starving people so that they can jack up your health insurance. Let me say that again. They're starving people from SNAP so that they can also be allowed to screw you on your medical insurance. But that's the pro-life party. Those are the people that are trying to tell you that they're Christians. The same Christians that when people call around to the churches and say, hey, my baby's starving, I can't afford formula. Is there anybody in your church that might be able to help? Sorry, no. Click. Same question. Oh, sorry. Are you a member? No? Sorry, can't help. Click. It's the same people. It's the same people trying to take away our health care, make it too expensive. And what is Donald Trump and Republicans' response? Well, we're going to send the money back to the people so that they can go buy their own insurance, as it should be. Let me explain something to you guys. The whole reason that the Affordable Care Act came along in the first place was because the privatized insurance companies were screwing everybody. They were making it so that people couldn't afford it. Right? So the whole point was to make it so that even people in the lower brackets would be able to somewhat afford it. Now, even Obama has said that there were things within it that we should change. And it's like anything. When you implement something like that, there's probably going to be some things that didn't work the way you thought. And that's where you start tweaking things and adjusting things, just like you would a car, right? You don't just throw the car away. You start making adjustments, fixing parts. But for some reason, we never did that. The Republican Party started just trying to gut it, and the Democrats were just trying to save whatever they could. And we got left with the carcass that is now the ACA, which they are now trying to finish off artificially. And I say that I want people to start using this phrase more. Artificially fail. Okay? A program that is working and has been working for over a decade that gets its funding pulled or redirected, that's an artificial fail. It's not failing, you're pulling its funding. That's totally different. Okay? Same with Social Security. Would Social Security be failing if they didn't keep reallocating the money out of that fund to other places? Probably not. But that's probably a discussion for another day. But what isn't a discussion for another day is the job cuts and the report that came out. So the job cuts for October totaled 153,074, which is a 183% surge from September and 175% higher than the same month a year ago. It was the highest level for any October since 2003 and has been the worst year for layoffs since 2009. Gee, what was happening around 2008 and 9? That was the economic collapse that Obama inherited, if I remember correctly, right? So do you think that this might be showing us that there might be some type of economic collapse in our future? I sure hope not. These are things that I hope I'm wrong about. But it's facts that we can't deny. So again, I'm sure we'll see the White House trying to spin these numbers that they aren't that bad, or it's still Biden's fault a year later, whatever. I'm sure they'll figure something out. But the realities are that our economy is not looking great, that the feds are having to lower the interest rate to try to balance out what is happening. We've added $1 trillion plus to our deficit in Trump's first 10 months. Yeah, it's not looking great, y'all. And that's on top of everything else we're talking about today. That's on top of the Epstein stuff, the Congress being shut down, everything. Okay? So another thing that's happening is that over 1,000 flights have been canceled in the last couple days. And I believe it might be every day, actually, but don't quote me on the number. But a crap ton of flights. We've seen the lines at the airports. We've seen people posting about it. And the air traffic controllers has been a big story because they weren't getting paid. And so they stopped showing up. And can't say that I blame them, but it does suck because their job is so important to our everyday life. So Trump went on his thing demanding that they come back, which is, I'm like, really? You think that's the way to do it? Okay. And then he goes on to offer $10,000 bonuses to air traffic controllers that didn't, take time off. So again, I ask, where are we getting all this money? He's sending you $2,000. He's sending us $2,000 from the tariffs, which we pay, by the way. He's going to be giving $10,000 bonuses to air traffic controllers. He's given away $50,000 signing bonuses to the tens of thousands of ICE employees that he's hiring. But we can't give teachers money for supplies or pay them a decent wage. So much so that most of them have to go get a second job. America for you guys. So, look, I'm not trying to say anything bad about air traffic controllers or minimize anybody's struggle through any of this. Me and my family, we are fortunate, and but that doesn't mean that I don't have a crap ton of empathy for the sacrifices that a lot of other Americans are making to try to fix what's happening, because that's exactly what it was and what it still is. Americans coming together and voting and letting them know that during a shutdown, they voted for the Democrats because they knew it wasn't our fault. And I feel like that hope and power that they were given, I just feel like it was thrown away. I hope I'm wrong, and I've said this I'll say it publicly on the show. So why I think the Senate caving on the shutdown was a bad move and a bad look, if somehow the House turns this into a win, I will absolutely eat my words, and I will proudly be wrong. By the way, I will proudly be wrong about that. So look, man, I hope that the Democrats are able to spin this yarn into something positive, something good for us. But I know that right now the optics aren't great, so they better figure it out. But one of the things I also want to talk about real quick, when we talk about ACA subsidies, health insurance, my dad died at 57 from colon cancer, and my grandmother died of it pretty young, and her mother died of it pretty young. And because of that, my dad and some doctors back in the early 2000s figured out that it might be genetic, that there might be a reason. So really awesome geneticist back home, I believe it was Oakwood Hospital back home in Dearborn, Michigan, Dr. Zangerhain, shout out to Dr. Zangerhain. she sat down with me like 30 days after my dad's funeral. He had made me promise to go get this test done. He said, look, I paid $2,000 to have this test done. He's like, but all you got to pay is the blood draw. It's like $100. He's like, you got to promise me you'll go do it. So I promised him. So about 30 days after he passed, I got the test done and they got the results. And I remember going in there thinking I wasn't going to have it, and my brother was going to have it. It wasn't going to be me. Well, turns out I had it. And I remember it feeling like a death sentence at the time. And it did for quite a while, actually. And but because of it, I started getting my colonoscopies almost yearly. Fast forward, I had to have my colon taken out in 2018. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Those were the back surgery. I had to have my colon taken out in 2019. So it's been 6-7 years. And the reason was because I was already growing polyps that were huge. And they were, there's stages to the polyps to where they become cancerous. And like mine was the last stage before they become, pretty cancerous. So, we caught them all at the right time, but it just became, do we want to keep doing this or do we want to give me the best chance at not having to deal with it? So we just took the colon out. And I remember the doctor was like, well, you got 2 young kids, right? And I was like, yeah. She's like, well, if you're going to watch them graduate high school, you're going to let me take your colon out. At 37, that was pretty easy. Okay, let's do it. I tell you all of that to say that if I didn't have the health insurance that I do, I know for a fact that I would be dead. I wouldn't be here for my kids. My wife would be a widow. I wouldn't be here. And there are other people out there that are in the same boat with families, with young kids that don't have the insurance that I have. And they're not going to have the same outcome that I've been fortunate enough to receive. That's what I was thinking about when I watched them cave. And it just feels like we are literally dealing with life and death. And it doesn't feel like we are taking it that seriously. I think that's the best way I can put it. I think sometimes we forget that when we're talking about health insurance, we're talking about kids. We're talking about mothers. We're talking about, you want to make all these women have babies. You better make sure that they can have them safely. We have one of the worst infant mortality rates. How about you guys improve that before you start taking away health insurance? It's really interesting, though. I want to talk real quick when we talk about qualifications, doctors, things you want people to be qualified for. Donald Trump had a interview with Laura Ingraham, and he spoke about H-1B visas and bringing in immigrants with talents and education that Americans just don't have. So let's watch the clip real quick.
H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration, because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
We've done it before. We can't do it now? That's interesting. See, my thing is, we talk about investing in America, America first. But Donald Trump just told us that he doesn't want to educate Americans. He doesn't want to teach you and I how to do these things so that we can have these good jobs here in America. He wants to continue doing the easy thing, which is importing immigrants and usually being able to pay them lower price or lower wage, I should say. But whatever their reason is, we don't want to invest in our own workers. We don't want to make ourselves self-sufficient when it comes to making things like batteries, especially in a future where electric cars eventually are going to take hold. Batteries, when we're talking about AI and electricity and harnessing solar and all that. No, why would we teach ourselves how to do that, right? It doesn't make sense. Like, he's literally in that one video telling you that he is going to take potential jobs from Americans and give them to whoever they deem necessary. And oh, by the way, he's only planning on importing white immigrants, particularly South Africans. Again, we don't like to, we're not trying to start a cult. We just like to fact check. Please go fact check that. I don't get it. I don't get it. The guy tells us he hates us. He sat there and said that Democrats are his enemy. He's told us what he wants to do to his enemies. Like, this is the president of the United States, y'all. He's supposed to represent everybody. Like, yeah, even if I didn't vote for him, he's still supposed to be representing me. And he doesn't. He hates me. Like, he literally despises me, and I know that. So we're just gonna keep letting it go, right? Speaking of letting things go, because I know I've jumped around a little bit, but I want to make sure that people really understand what we're giving up, what people were willing to do, and what Senate Democrats really folded on. At Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas, there's a video of soldiers lined up in their uniforms, waiting for food. Now, I don't know how many of you may have been in the military, but that's not normal. It is not normal for you to have to line up with your grocery bags and your baskets and wait for formula, food, whatever. And that's exactly what this is. It was confirmed. So look at the baskets. They've got those like baskets that you take to soccer games and stuff so that they can fill it up and take it home. Those are our soldiers. Those are the people that protect your rights. And that's how they're being treated. And it's all for political gain, might I add. Donald Trump doesn't care about the troops. Republicans don't care about the troops. And I watched a really interesting video, and it's on my Instagram. I wish I remembered the person's name, but it's on there, so go watch it and support it. But he broke down active duty voters and who they voted for. And when I was in, it was clearly Republican. But he actually showed the trend that since like 2000 and I think it was like 2011, somewhere around there, that it actually switched to active duty voting more Democrat. So that was I learned something new today. So that was news to me. So, the switch is happening, but hopefully more active duty will see that and realize that this dude really is just sleeping on the job completely. Like, what did they call him? Sleepy Joe? Sleepy Joe? I think our producer called him Dopey. What does it, Dopey Don, or I don't know. He had a good one, but I mean, again, if that was Biden, the nod father, that was Keats. So the dude's sleeping on the job, but that's not even the best part. For those of you who may have missed it, they were having a little shindig. This is the same meeting, I believe. And somebody fainted. And I want you to see what Donald Trump's response was. And then I want you to also watch what Obama's response was when a diabetic woman almost fell out when he was speaking.
To lift from the American people the crushing burden of unaffordable health care. To free families from the pervasive fear that one illness I got you. No, you're okay. This happens when I talk too long.
Like, there's no comparison. And I want you all to stick around to the end of the show because I'm going to drive that point home. And again, can we just...
Thing would go.
Why not
You
silver?
can't... You can't imitate gold, real gold. There's no paint that imitates gold.
So these aren't like from Home Depot or something?
No, this is not Home Depot stuff.
No, not stuff you buy.
This is not Home Depot.
Like, we know that that's not all gold, right? Like, we all agree that that's not gold. Yeah, I got nothing. Like, I got nothing. If you believe that's all gold, I challenge somebody to go in and take it and then try to sell it. If you try to melt it, I got news for you. It's probably going to start smoking like wood or plastic, one of the two. But look, this guy's a joke. He's made the Oval Office look like, Liberace lives there. And he's very clearly in the Epstein files, which Elon Musk has very politely confirmed for us. And I think moving Ghislaine Maxwell to her cushy new digs also confirms it. But before we start ending the show, I want to remind everybody that the Supreme Court has stopped the SNAP benefits once again from going out. So they have temporarily paused it. So we'll see what comes of that. But again, why is our government playing yo-yo with feeding people? It just seems cruel and unusual at this point. So hopefully the Supreme Court can get their stuff together and put an end to this once and for all and start feeding the people that need help. And by the way, it's pretty sad that many soldiers had to line up for food. Maybe we ought to take a look at how much we're paying them, or take a look at why they are living paycheck to paycheck the way that they are. I can't believe that many people are just bad at managing their money. It's got to be something else. So with that, I want to talk about the pardons, because I really believe that the pardons that Trump did kind of went under the radar, because we were all focused on all this other stuff that was going on over the last few days, particularly the government shutdown. So in the midst of all of this, Donald Trump issued another set of pardons, 77, I believe was the total number. And among them was Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, John Eastman, and a bunch of people from here in Arizona. I believe it was like 11 fake electors, among them being Kelly Ward, who ran the state party, the person who led the Cochise County Republican Party, a couple people that are running for office right now. So, I think if you need a pardon for any kind of crimes, that you probably shouldn't be allowed to run for office, but I guess that's just me. So among all of his loyalists that he's pardoning, saying that they were persecuted and put through hell by the Biden administration, but unsurprisingly, none of the related cases that he pardoned were brought by the Justice Department. Matter of fact, the really interesting thing about this is that a lot of those pardons don't mean shit. That's right. You can issue a pardon, the president can, for federal crimes, but he can't issue a pardon for state crimes. And the state of Arizona currently has Katie Hobbs, a Democrat, as our governor. And I can tell you right now that between her and Chris Mays, that there ain't no way in hell that the fake electors from Arizona are going to be getting any kind of break or pardon from the government here. Now, if a Republican gets the governor's seat, that's probably going to be a different story. But for now, I can tell you that ain't happening. So unless some state governors decide to take these pardons and use them as the precedent to give a state pardon, that's about the only way that's going to benefit them. So it's pretty symbolic for his red meat for his followers that won't actually help most of them, but something to keep an eye on. And also just want to remind everybody that in January, right after being sworn in, I might add, Trump pardoned about 1,500 January 6th rioters who participated in the insurrection that day. Among those pardoned were Enrique Tarrio, the former Proud Boy chairman, who was convicted of seditious conspiracy and sentenced to 22 years in the federal penitentiary. And there have been quite a few of them that have ended up going back to jail because they committed more crimes when they got out. So, yeah, that's where we're at. We have a convicted felon, and I think pretty sure that he's a pedophile now, pardoning people. So what could go wrong? So the next president, I'm going to need you to knock down the ballroom, rebuild the East Wing as was, go in and take all those stupid gold things down, okay? And then we're going to have you go through and undo everything that Trump did. Like everything. The pardons, the bills, the laws, everything. We're going to, when he's gone, I want the White House to like be different. Like, we might even change the color, the gray house. I don't know, something. Like, we just got to rebrand. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to get rid of this guy because criminals shouldn't be pardoning criminals. We need to make that a thing. And in addition, we need to make it so that people running for office have to pass some kind of a background check before even being allowed to collect signatures. Because if you've got felonies on your record, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be controlling any government for anybody. Sad that needs to be said. But speaking of sad, I don't want to end on a sad note. Keith and I, our wonderful producer, and Marcus, who's probably watching from home, we would like to end on a positive note. And we've talked today so much about Republicans and Trump and pardons and not holding people accountable and, you know, emails confirming he's a predator and all these things. It would just be really nice to remember better days and remember when we had leadership that we could be proud of, whether you agreed with them or not on everything. The one thing that I always heard people say was that they at least respected him. And there was a Navy SEAL that went on a show, and he said that when they came home and they brought his brothers back in their caskets, that Obama stood at attention for over an hour. And he said that dude didn't move. He's like, he held that salute, and it was crisp. And this dude's like, he's like, and I don't agree with him on anything. He's like, but he's like, I can't lie. He's like, Donald Trump doesn't do that. Donald Trump goes, he gets berated and he sends somebody else to do the honors. You know, he only shows up for things that benefit him. So I don't think that this benefits Barack Obama in any real way because he's not running for anything. But Veterans Day was yesterday. And so I just want to give another shout out to my fellow brothers and sisters out there. You know, there's only 6% of us that do this, and we're a special group. No matter what branch you're in, no matter what gender you are, I don't care. I respect and love you all because at the end of the day, it's us that are the reason that I'm able to sit on this show and say the things that I do and not have any serious repercussions. And that's a very special thing. And Barack Obama, our former president, our former leader, well, he's still a leader. Thank God he's still in the game somehow. He decided to show up for some veterans. They do plane rides and bring them to D.C. so that they can see the memorials and honor friends, things like that. They take them around and tour them around Arlington and the monuments around D.C. It's pretty special, and it's been going on for years. And some of them landed yesterday, and they got a pretty big surprise. And here it is.
This honor flight is to honor all the veterans of World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. It's all free for them. We show them all their monuments and explain what their monuments are about. We just try to treat them with dignity that some of them didn't get when they came home from the war.
Hello, everybody. What? As we approach Veterans Day, I wanted to stop by and just say thank you for your extraordinary service to you, your family, The sacrifices that all of you made to protect our country is something that will always be honored. And we are very grateful, and we also happen to welcome you with a 70-degree day in D.C., which doesn't always happen around here.
That's the first time I've seen a president, former or current, greet an honor flight, and that is absolutely amazing. A commander-in-chief, a leader who's going to show up and tell you that your service was worth something. I think that's the important part, so I think it was a great thing that happened.
Last time I got to see a president, it was Gerald Ford.
How about that? So nice.
It was a joy in my heart today to see all these people. It's good. We still got people in our country, and that's good.
I had tears in my eyes. I just couldn't believe that there was that many people around that remembered us and was there to greet us, and it was just unbelievable.
Well, it means a lot because back then you got off the plane there and you had no welcome and people were almost booing you.
I'm real happy that now with current troops that come back from deployments, they get welcomed back really nice because that's what should happen. So it's being recreated in this flight and it makes you feel good.
I haven't flown for 50 years. I was in the military from 72 to 76. Our country puts these things up, these memorials, honoring the men and women that served. You couldn't ask for something greater.
This has been going on over 20 years, and it started out very small, and now a lot of states have their own hubs, and they raise their own money and they set up the whole flights. They set up where they're going to go, the buses, the flights. Flight like today from Madison, Wisconsin will come in the morning and leave in the afternoon, and we'll get them around to every monument we can within reasonable time. Every city in this country has got veterans in it, I guarantee it. Go up and say thank you, and just tell them how much you appreciate them.
So, yeah, I got nothing to add to that. So, on behalf of Marcus Flowers, myself, and our team here, and with all due respect, I'll leave you as I always do with much love, keep fighting, but most importantly, stay safe out there.